Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Welcome. So I came on at the last minute tonight to do a live stream. I really almost didn't, but I just can't stop myself from doing it. It's so ingrained in me that I have to put effort into my business. So those of you who follow me, those of you who run into resistance about putting effort into what you want, I was like that today. I'm extremely tired, so we'll see if this live stream goes anywhere. But I think it's a good time to do some recap of the energy systems that I believe will be necessary in order to facilitate a smooth shift into 5D. By energy, I'm talking about spiritual energies. And you hear people all over YouTube, especially when it comes to 5D, talking about raising your vibrations, etc., etc. But how much, if you're new to the channel, do you think about that in a literal way? Do you think about that in a symbolic way? Like if you think good thoughts, your vibrations will go up? Well, here on this channel, to the best of my ability, I try to actually focus on practical, real things that you can physically experience. And when it comes to energy, I am talking about very real, very specific energies. And the things that we talk about and have been talked about in spiritual practices for thousands of years, energies, the three major energies we're going to talk about today: Qi, life force energy; Kundalini, the people mistake Kundalini for Qi. Kundalini is not the life force energy, I'm sorry to say. Kundalini is the energy of awareness. Qi, prana, the energy of breath, the energy that's in the air around you, in the plants and in the cells of your body. This is life force energy. So there's life force energy, which is Qi or prana, breath energy. There's Kundalini, which is a different energy that has to do with the nervous system and the spinal column and the chakras of the body. And the Kundalini is your conscious energy. It is the energy, the spiritual energy that gives your 3D primate brain the ability even to tap into spiritual ideas and concepts. And then there is the energy that you most likely have not heard about unless you're a follower of this channel, which is the heart-mind energy, which is, some might argue, the most powerful of the energies because it taps into even higher dimensional forces than the first two that I've mentioned. And that energy is in Chinese medicine and in esoteric Chinese Taoist spiritual practices. There is a place called the heart mind. And the heart mind is actually a barrier of protection that surrounds the Shen, which is the soul. So the Shen, which is the soul energy, the spirit energy, has a protector. And that energy is also called the Emperor's bodyguard. And that is because that's exactly what it is. It guards the heart from the harshness of three-dimensional living. So I'm not going to get into it, but one of the reasons I'm having a tough time today is because some very, very old childhood wounds have come up. And I've been having to do a lot of shadow work. I hate that word, but that's what I've been doing today. And I just didn't have it in me to come up with a big thing to talk about. But I have to show up for my service to myself and to the universe. And so people have been asking about what it is that makes my energy practices different. So over here you have the 90-day lightning Qigong, which you find here at thunderwizard.com. That is a website. Somebody asked today, I want to do the 90-day challenge. How do I do it? It frustrates me because there's a website right there. There's a couple right there. There's one here. All it takes is just looking and paying attention and typing them in. That's why they're there. But some people don't look that hard. So if you want to know about the actual practice that I teach, which by the way, you won't find anywhere else. It's never been taught in this format ever in the history of human beings, and you're not going to find anybody else who teaches it. And it is a triune practice which combines these three energies. Again, you'll never find anybody who does this. The three energies of life force energy, the life force energy which raises the vibration in your bodily tissues, in your organs, in your cells. The Kundalini energy, which raises the vibration of your nervous system and raises your consciousness to that of allowing your ego to connect to the spirit. This is why Kundalini is so important in spiritual practice. And then the third energy, which is the Emperor's bodyguard, which is literally the force of lightning. Now you may not know this, but this science of the lightning energy, my prediction, this is going to be extremely widespread and important as we go into the 5D shift. As time goes on, this is going to be more well known, more widely known, and it is going to be absolutely essential. Because it is through this heart center that we are able to tap into higher dimensional forces. And if we don't take this lightning energy, which now in every human being, everybody has this incredibly powerful self-contained lightning energy, which is surrounding the soul and the soul energy. If we aren't able to tap into that and then spread it outward through the body, the shift towards 5D won't be as powerfully experienced. At least that's what I've experienced myself. So I teach those three energies, and that's what we're gonna talk about. So let's just go over the basics. So Qi is life force energy, breath. Whenever you breathe, you are doing what's called Qigong. Qigong literally means breath work. The Latin word respirate literally means to re-spirit. So every time you breathe in, you are bringing spirit into your body. And the Latin word for dying is to expire, which is to breathe out. And in the movies, when somebody dies, you know they've died because the person goes, ugh, and they breathe their last. They exhale, which is symbolic to us because the breath energy is leaving. So this has been known for a long time. Every time that you breathe, you are doing Qigong. Every time you breathe consciously, like if you were to just sit and inhale very deeply, allowing your navel center to expand, exhaling. You know, a good way just to do, you've never done Qigong before, Here's the simplest way to do Qigong. It's very powerful, and it also teaches you to meditate. Easiest thing in the world to do. You just relax and you count to, you can count to 10 as you inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold the breath for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Exhale for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is Qigong. You've now re-spirited yourself. You've now slowed the breathing down, which calms down the nervous system. It changes the brain wave level, the hertz in your brain. You immediately go into a place of comfort. It gives you an ability to look at your feelings more objectively. That's why people say, calm down, take a deep breath. You know, when I was way back in the 70s and 80s, I smoked. Yes, indeed, I did. And what was interesting is that when you wanted to relax, you'd go out and smoke a cigarette. Which doesn't make any sense because tobacco is a stimulant. But what is it that you're doing? You're going, the reason why smoking relaxes people isn't because it's not the nicotine that relaxes them. It's the fact that they're breathing. Now, they're breathing horrific chemicals into their body, and they shouldn't do that if they want to live a long life. But that's why people, when they want to relax, they go out and smoke a cigarette. So you can do Qigong simply by breathing. But you can also combine movement with that, which is what Tai Chi is, all those kinds of things. You can, we teach that here on this channel. If you're new to the channel, you can just go to the playlists on the YouTube channel page and just simply click on any of the Qigong, and there you are. You're going to town. You're doing energy work. This will go into the cells. I didn't realize how important this was even just a few months ago. If you were to talk to me 6 months ago, I would definitely have said what I'm saying now, that if you want to achieve awareness, enlightenment, you will need to do life force energy work. But I never, ever dreamed how important it was, because I didn't know what a lot of you know now about the nature of this world. I just came across something again today called the Black Tom explosion. This apparently was the biggest terrorist attack on U.S. soil in U.S. history. And it was such a huge explosion. It took out, a huge chunk of New York. It damaged. It wasn't in New York Harbor. It was in New Jersey, but it took out, almost took out the Statue of Liberty, and hundreds of people ultimately died. It was enormous. I've never heard of it. It didn't exist. I would have known about it. I spent 8 years in college. I would have known about something like that. Never heard of it before. So we live in a universe now that has shifted, and as you know, the entire planet has shifted. If you didn't know about that and you didn't see what we talked about last time, let me play it for you again. So we live in a different world. And truth be told, the 5D shift has already begun. We're already in the midst of it. And I personally am experiencing the heightened effects of this. In ways, you guys have seen, I don't really want to go through the laundry list of it, but one of the effects that many of you may be experiencing also is that there is no more hiding from your deepest wounds. Your deepest childhood wounds are no longer things you can cover up, and they will rise to the surface. If you act out of fear, if you act out of desperation, if you act out of any type of assumption of lack or limit, the repercussions will be immediate. The universe will no longer allow you to live from a victim mentality. It won't happen. The backlash will be immediate. So the only way that we're going to survive this shift is if we make energy practices and meditation the priority in our lives. If you are watching this channel and the only thing that you do is come on and listen to me talk, you are missing out. I honestly believe that the only thing that matters is our energy work and our meditation right now. So one of the things I definitely wouldn't spend any time worrying about is money, reputation, career. Don't worry about these things. I'm not saying don't do what you have to do to eat and have clothing and a roof over your head. But I'm saying the amount of effort that normally goes into the status of my career, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do this, and I need to have that. That stuff is out the window now. The life preserver for you, for your body, your brain, your mind, your spirit, the life preserver is your meditation and your energy work. So if you don't have any of those things, you've landed on the right channel, because I have no shortage of free meditations and energy works available. You can find them on the playlists. For those of you who are serious about taking this as a science to raise your vibration in the physical level, on the consciousness level, that's chi on the physical level, kundalini on the consciousness level, and heart, mind, lightning energy on the higher dimensional level. This is the only place, to my knowledge, you're going to find all three of these energies taught in one practice. So whether you get it from me, I'm not the only game in town. There's no shortage of meditation teachers and yoga teachers and tai chi teachers and magic teachers. There's no shortage of energy practices out there. Just do something. But my recommendation is to do, if you can, I would put an hour a day. Maybe you can't do that. That's going to become, by the way, as we go forward, that is going to become normal. Right now, people say things like, oh, I can't, I have to, fill in the blank. What people are going to say, who knows how many years from now, is you're going to say, hey, do you want to go hang out and do such and such? People are going to go, I can't, I need to meditate. Do you want to come with me? I'm going to go home and I'm going to meditate for an hour. Would you like to come with me? And when you first meet somebody, instead of asking them, what do you do for a living? By the way, that's a question I've never really felt comfortable with when people had asked. The first thing they out of their mouth is, so what do you do? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I do? What do you do for a living? The first thing that you're going to ask somebody when you meet them, when you go on a first date in the 5D world, is you're going to say, so what style of meditation do you like to do the best? Oh, really? I've done that before. That's really cool. This is where we're headed. And it is, it's a fact. It's going to happen. So I forgot where I was in all of this, but So we're talking about, first I'm talking about the Qi life force energy. This will give you a connection to Mother Nature. Now, as you just saw in the little video that I showed you, the Earth went through a portal, December 21st, 2012. A lot of us didn't realize that's what the Mayan prediction was about. The Mayan prediction was about the Earth literally going through a wormhole, a portal. We knew that the 2012 prediction had to do with an alignment with the galactic center, and that when that happened, that would destroy the old world and create a new one. But none of us took it seriously. None of us even thought. And that's why after 2012, when the world didn't blow up, we went, well, okay, that was interesting. As it turns out, that old world is no more. We live in a new world. The Mandela Effect is proof of that. Anybody who does the slightest bit of research into the Mandela Effect with even the slightest bit of an open mind will come to the conclusion very quickly that our history has changed and is continuing to change. New Mandela effects are popping up all the time. Like I said, the Black Tom, is that what it's called? The Black Tom explosion, that's brand new. That's a new thing that's just popped up. There's going to be others that pop up as time goes on. You know, maybe the deeper past. Maybe what's happening is the Mandela effect is starting to go further into the past. That might make some sense to me. Anyway, so in order to get through this, our body is going to need to vibrate at a higher level. That is done through Qigong, through energy practices. The Kundalini has to do with your consciousness level. By consciousness, I mean your spiritual awareness. By the way, there is a difference between believing in the supernatural and being a spiritually evolved person. A lot of people will say, I'm a very spiritual person. What they mean is they believe in ghosts and non-physical things. But that's not what spiritual evolution is really about. The awareness, the spiritual awareness that you are an infinite being of light, that you are a spirit having a physical experience. We are now, it's going to become absolutely everybody in the world is going to know, more than anything else. Their base assumption about reality is that this world is a dream. We know that now because otherwise, how can history be changing itself? That's not possible. How can the Earth herself move through a time portal and end up 75,000 light years across the galaxy? That can't happen if you live in an actual, real, just absolutely hardcore, real experience. No, this is a dream. You can call it a matrix if you want. For me, if you use matrix in the original sense, matrix is a Latin word which means the mothers. And it has to do with giving birth to a reality. And one of the goddesses' names in the Vedic tradition is Maya, which means illusion. And if you take the negative twist out of it that most people put into it, I live in an illusion, it's not real. If you take that negative twist out of it and you realize that this is a really bitchin' virtual reality that is given to you as a gift by the feminine energy that has given birth to this matrix, to this Maya. And when you understand it like that, it takes on a whole new meaning. But it is still a dream. And whether or not you have a nightmare, whether you're miserable and you're poor and you're sick, or whether you have an absolutely brilliant, wonderful, unbelievable, orgasmically happy life, will be based on whether or not you have the ability to control the dream that you live in. And you can only control your dream if your Kundalini has risen. Because Kundalini gives you the awareness that you live in a beautiful dream. If your dream isn't beautiful, you lack energy. Because it takes energy to create your dream. If you're unable to create your dream and you are a victim of it, one of the meanings is you have low life force energy. So Qigong will raise that. And if you are somebody that gets your energy from things that you put into your body, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, THC, hallucinogens, then you will not have the energy to change your dream, because those things take energy away from you. They feel like they're putting energy into you, but all that happens, what's really happening is your life force energy is being burned away. And so when you're under the influence of any of those chemicals, you will feel a lot of energy, but it's actually the feeling of energy burning away and leaving you. Where if you do energy work, you will create energy and you will absorb energy. You will get the same experience. And you will have the power then. Because your external reality, the matrix that has woven together around you, is made up of life force energy. And so if you have life force energy, you can then invest that into your reality, create your reality as you want it to be. So if you can't do that, one of the things that's missing is you lack energy. The other thing could be you lack awareness. If you live in fear, you lack awareness. Because when you understand the nature of this Maya that you live in, you will understand that you are connected to a conscious living being who is your mother, who loves you. As we go forward into this ascension event, what will happen is that people will become more and more aware of the intense love that everything around you has for you. If you can't feel that, you're not alone. It means you lack energy and or you lack awareness. So you can get awareness through stimulating the Kundalini. Kundalini allows your, as I said, allows your primate body and brain to actually relate from a spiritual perspective. This thing on your head is not your mind. This thing on your head is literally just a piece of hardware that your infinite soul uses to interface with this three-dimensional video game, this Maya that you live in. So, one of the things, now what I just said, the two energies I've just talked about and everything I've said has always been true. It was true when our planet was 75,000 light years in the other direction at the very edge of the galaxy. It was true 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. People did breath work, energy work, and those that knew Kundalini, if they did that, they began to get awareness and there were shamans and there were people who knew how to interact with this illusion, and they knew it was a dream. But now we're entering into a whole new event, which happened in 2012 when the planet shifted. When the planet moved, we are now almost halfway into the galaxy. We're almost 50% closer to the center of the galaxy, which is where our conscious spiritual energy comes from. The reason why things have been so difficult on this planet for so long is because the planet was literally on the edge of the galaxy, as far away as possible from the galactic center. If you want to know where God lives, if you want to look at it that way, if in terms of our galaxy, God lives in the center of our galaxy. So the closer you physically are to the center of the galaxy, the more spiritual energy is hitting your body, and the easier it is to become aware. This is why people are waking up like popcorn. It's happening like that. You know, people who were completely, totally not interested in anything spiritual are now waking up, seemingly out of nowhere. And that's going to continue as well. So all of these things, these changes are going to continue to come. The elites will probably put more effort into bringing their narcissistic control over society. That's probably going to increase. Unless we all meditate, that's probably what's going to happen. And the other thing that's going to happen is strange things like the Mandela Effect is going to continue to increase. And as I understand it, and I'm prepared for my understanding to change, but right now my understanding about it, based on my meditations and interactions with you know who, my experience leads me to believe that when the Earth shifted, like this this tesseract, which is a four-dimensional cube. A cube in the fourth dimension looks like this when you rotate it. Looks like it's moving inside and out, but that's not what's happening. It's rotating, and we can't comprehend it. So when our planet went through the center of the galaxy and came out where it is now, our perspective literally rotated from higher dimensions. And so these things, like my theory about this latest Mandela Effect, I've come to find out, the Black Tom explosion. My latest theory is that the reason why I didn't hear about it back when is because it didn't happen. And I believe that probably the reason why it didn't happen is because it was a plan that the Germans had planned, probably many different attacks, many different espionage and terrorist attacks for their war effort. And it was one of those plans that never came to fruition. So it may have been something, I don't know if real historians back then knew that this plan was rolling around but didn't come about, or if nobody had heard about it because it simply didn't manifest. But what happens is that from a higher dimensional perspective, space-time was rotated. So that means when we look back in time now from our position where we are, what we're doing is we're looking back to where the Earth was before 2012. And that right here, that rotation that you see, that rotation of space-time brought those tendencies that didn't come to fruition. Now all of a sudden they're brought out as though they did happen. It's like you take those pictures, that have, the holographic, picture in it where you look at it at one direction, you see one thing, but then when you move it, you see some other picture hidden inside of it. We've rotated space-time, and now these events are popping up. And it doesn't mean that my history was wrong. In my history, that never happened. In other words, it didn't happen. It literally did not happen. But when you go to the other side of the galaxy and rotate space-time, then all of these tendencies pop up. in our view. It's like we're looking at it from a different angle and we can see different things popping up. But history isn't reality. It's light. We're looking back at light and what it does from this angle. Does that make sense? As we get into higher dimensional energies, we are going to need this heart power. This energy, the heart mind, what my teachers called the Shin, or the heart mind. This energy is absolutely essential to raise your vibration to a higher level. So I've shown you this before, but it bears repeating. And again, these are for those of you who aren't doing the exercises. And again, I don't know why. I understand the resistance to not try something new or do an exercise or commit to something. I understand that. But when you've got a channel like mine that is giving you practices that under any other circumstances you would have had to pay thousands of dollars to learn. I did. I had to take secret vows and go into, secret classrooms, and I can't tell anybody about this, and I learned all this stuff behind closed doors. And I'm throwing some of it out here, for free on the channel, stuff that extremely high level stuff. Why you wouldn't do that, I don't know. But it's going to be very important to do these things because, as you see here, now you understand again what the thunder wheel is all about. The thunder wheel is about the 8 directions and the 8 points of the 8 cardinal directions. If you've been on my channel, you know that's been a staple of everything. You can read my books, Thunder Shamanism. You can watch the videos, Thunder Shamanism. You can watch the videos of me reading the book, Thunder Shamanism. And you will have no shortage of practices working with the 8 directions. What I've come to find out now, very interestingly enough, is that these 8 directions are actually the only way in 3 dimensions you can access higher dimensions. And so if you look here, this is a tesseract that is not rotating. This is a 4-dimensional cube. We can't see that. If that 4-dimensional cube is floating above our 3-dimensional space, we physically can't see it. But if you shined a light onto that 4-dimensional cube, it would make that shadow. And that shadow would appear in 3-dimensional space. In the same way, when wind goes over a pond, the ripples on the surface of the pond create shadows at the bottom of the pond. The fish can see the shadows moving, but they have no idea where are those shadows coming from. They can't see outside of their pond. And so this 8 direction wheel that I've been teaching you how to use and do rituals on and do Qigong with and the Mao Shan practices, that 8 direction wheel is the shadow of higher dimensional forces. Light, electromagnetism, and gravity are all things that leak into 3 dimensions from higher dimensions. This isn't a spiritual thing talking. This is physics. According to physics, all the light from my lamp or my chandelier here, the light from the sun, the light from the stars, even the infrared light that comes out of your body, all of this light is coming from higher dimensions. So this lets you know what stars are. Stars are portals to higher dimensions. Because the energy that comes, the light that comes out of them is coming from the dimensions of light. And the third dimension is not a dimension of light. It is a dimension of space-time, but it is not a dimension of light. All the light that we have is coming from higher dimensions. So when you work with these 8 directions in the way that I teach you how to do it, you are literally going up into that 4-dimensional cube, 5-dimensional cube, and you're tapping into those energies. I had a very interesting conversation last night with one of my apprentices who is doing all this stuff up here, the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, and I won't get into the things that he talked about. Just trust me, you would have liked to have been a fly on the wall there. And he's finding out through experience things I've been telling him for years about these practices, these movements that you're doing. Up here, like when you do the yin-yang hands, the full yin-yang hands. When you do that facing the 8 directions, you are creating higher dimensional shapes that you can't see in 3D, but you're creating them in higher dimensions. And they end up giving you energies that you can't find in 3D. So when you hear all these stories about these spiritual masters, especially when you see these Chinese masters doing all of these strange forms, and as a result of that they have all this energy and can do strange things with their body that doesn't make sense in space-time. It's because they're not projecting 3D energy. They're projecting energies from 4D or 5D. And so if you want that, then you'll need to know the techniques to be able to tap into that. Because otherwise, the higher dimensions are not available to us in 3D. They're not available unless we know how to tap into it. Now, why is this important? The lightning energy of the heart, which is the Shin, the heart mind, that is actually going to, I don't know what dimension it's going to, what the actual ceiling of it is. I believe it's going beyond 4D into at least 5D. I could be wrong. That's my feeling about it now. And what ends up happening when you work with this heart-mind energy, this lightning energy that surrounds the heart, your intuition goes through the roof. Your emotional capacity also goes through the roof. Now, this is, there's the good news, bad news of this. The bad news is when you do these lightning energy practices, you're going to have to deal with all of your emotions. And I'm here to tell you, my experience, there's a large population of people who come on my channel who are not facing all of their emotional issues. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing these energy practices. I've got a teacher that I talk to. I've got a group of people that I make myself vulnerable to. And just recently a bunch of stuff came up, which is some of the most painful stuff ever. There's always new stuff coming up. And so if you're watching my channel and you think that you can do it alone, that you don't need somebody to talk to, or then all I can say is that you're more advanced than I am, because I can't do that. But you're really going to need an energy that's going to allow you to speed that process up. And that is what the heart-mind energy will do. In the higher dimensions, the level of emotion, if you were to feel, in other words, if you were to right now just snap your fingers and go into the 5th dimension just for a few seconds and come back, you would be weeping. The intensity of the emotions would be so much, it would be overwhelming to your 3D physical body. And the emotions are unbelievable. The emotions in higher dimensions are love, bliss, happiness, peace, joy, compassion beyond what you can imagine. You feel, you literally feel the presence of God, as it were. You feel a direct connection to that consciousness, which is in all of us. It's not actually separate from you at all. It's you. And when you look at another being in the eyes, the intense love and respect, and you see everything. There's no hiding, there's no lying. This is what's at the higher levels of dimensionality. And so our heart is going to need to be empowered and expanded to be able to go to that. And what is going to happen is that as a result of using these three energies, the Qigong energy, the Kundalini energy, and the heart-mind lightning energy, as we continue to work with these energies and as we continue to evolve, there will come a point when the human species will shift. They will completely shift into a higher dimension. And this is why anybody who has actual experience with extraterrestrial beings, not the fake extraterrestrial beings that have been created by the deep state. Every single instance of alien abduction is not done by extraterrestrials, it's done by humans. Here's how you know somebody, and there are movies out there. If you want to go on to Amazon or Gaia, or there are movies about aliens, and you'll hear so-called experts. I'm not going to name any names, number one, because I can't remember them even if I wanted to. But I remember one person talking about some strange thing about going through like a wall in the side of a mountain, and inside that there was some extraterrestrial habitat with these extraterrestrials and government officials. Now, why that doesn't, give you red flags, I don't know. But this person talks about their experience of being with this extraterrestrial in three-dimensional form, who is simultaneously conscious and robotic. Anytime you hear about an extraterrestrial needing to take any kind of samples, any kind of experimentation, this is your deep state government abducting humans and doing experiments on them. But the psychological warfare is to number one, hide that your own government is doing this to you, and number two, that they want you to be afraid of the ETs. And here's the main reason why. Because the ETs that have the ability to come to Earth from, millions of light years away are beings that are able to do that because they live in higher dimensions. And they can slow their vibration down to 3D if they want. But why would you? If you didn't have to, why would you do that? And so they're all around us, all the time. But they're in a higher dimension. You can't see them, you can't hear them, you can't feel them. And so anybody who has a true extraterrestrial connection, it's always going to be interacting with a being that has an extremely high level of energy. And you will most likely, when you're able to connect with them, have intense emotional experiences. It may take a while for you to open up because, again, you're on there's a barrier, there's a dimensional barrier. And you will need to open up these centers, open up your Kundalini, open up your Chi, raise your vibration, open up your heart center, and be able to tap into that, to be able to feel that. Anyway, I could go into more and more of those symptoms, but I'm not gonna spend that time today. So the point here today is, again, we need to do the energy work. I'm just going to keep it simple today because I'm tired. I'm probably gonna sign off early, but that's really all that matters to me. And it's extremely. I mean, we have to do the emotional cleansing. We have to do the emotional evolution. We have to evolve psychologically and emotionally. Because the other thing I found out is that it is impossible to interact with higher dimensions without having a profound psychological shift. It is impossible. And to the extent that you aren't dealing with your emotions, your interaction with higher dimensions is going to be potentially earth-shattering. It could be extremely painful. And it's not painful because the higher dimensions are painful. They're actually incredibly blissful. But you have to work through and raise the vibration of all of you, including all of your thoughts, all of your memories, all of your experiences, all of your emotions. And you can't do that if you don't face what's inside of you. So a lot of shadow work has to be done. And if you're like me, you need help. You need a cheat. You need a hack. And this triune energy system that I'm teaching, the Qigong, the Kundalini, and the lightning energy of the heart, the three of this together is proving to be the most valuable thing I've ever come across. And now here I am, just a couple weeks away from turning 59. At this age of my life, all of that wasted time doing all of that nonsense meditation and the energy work, people, why are you spending all that time doing that? Why aren't you, going out and making a name for yourself and getting a career? And, I couldn't help it. And I didn't think it would ever mean a whole lot to me other than my own personal satisfaction. Now I'm realizing it's a flotation device. It's what's going to help me evolve and get to that next level. I don't know if I'll make it, but my goal is I don't want to physically die. My goal is to be able to transcend this vibration and physically move into the next dimension. That's my goal. I'm okay if that doesn't happen, but that's only going to happen through using these energies that I've been lucky enough to get my hands on. And I've been sharing it here with you in all these different ways. All right, so I don't know if I said much of anything, but I'm done saying it. And by the way, I'm showing you these things here. Like, I want you to look at this, and then I want you to look at the shapes that my body is making, the angles that my body is creating, and you'll see a real similarity to this. And of course, I didn't know that for 30 years, however long I've been practicing it. It's only been in recent times that I've become aware that these practices that I've been taught are actually practices that are mapping out higher dimensional shapes, which in and of themselves bring in energies from 4D and 5D. Give you the power over space-time, give you the power over consciousness, those kinds of things. All right, so I'm happy to take questions if there are any. If not, that'll be perfectly fine. Let me pull this thing back to see. I don't see a whole lot here. Thundra says hello. She can be reached at thundra.thunderwizard.com. She's one of my astrologers. You can find out your best mantra, your best ritual. You can find out all kinds of wonderful things from her. She's got a bunch of other stuff she offers. Thundra.thunderwizard.com. Same with Vincent.thunderwizard.com, one of my astrologers, and you can see on the chat all the other services he provides. Zarelath, honest feeling. I am excited about an old flame giving me a second chance. I'm hoping she will meditate with me. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. I hope it works out for you, and I hope she meditates with you. Caleb Spears' question. If we don't vibe high enough, so right off the bat, Caleb, right off the bat, you've started at a negative. You know my feeling about that. Let me read your whole question. If we don't vibe high enough, what happens to us when the transition comes? All right, so this isn't like, Christian, and I'm sorry if I've given that, impression. My apologies. There may have been things that I've said to give that impression, but this isn't like Christian rapture. I think about that. I forgot about this, but there's a phrase, left behind. It's so horrible. The idea that God would leave his own children behind. It would be like, you're escaping a war-torn country, and you've got, you can, get in the car and jump across the border and be a refugee in a beautiful paradise, and your parents left you behind. That's not what we're talking about here. So my apologies if I gave that impression. Everybody's going to get there. Everybody's going to get there. I don't know how long it'll take. People may end up leaving their physical body and reincarnating in another one. For the first time, the thought of reincarnating on Earth actually sounds like a good deal. Because as time goes forward, Earth is going to be an extremely spiritual place. And little kids are going to be incredibly lucky. Now, I don't know how fast that transition is going to happen. Obviously, there's going to be a transition as people wake up. But each successive generation is going to be more and more spiritually attuned. Every time you change your DNA and you have kids, your kids have that new DNA. So we're going to create positive karmic upgrades. Each time it happens, there's going to be an upgrade. So don't worry about what happens to who if they don't. The main thing to know is that it's just going to be more and more difficult to hold on to old ways of thinking. And when people respond out of their habit, if their habit is to be negative, fearful, aggressive, violent, demeaning, devaluing, anything like that, it's gonna be just, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more challenging. So that's really all. And so all that means is that all we have to do is we just need to do the work. We need to meditate. We need to do the energy work. We need to make sure that we have a person or a group of people that we are committed to and vulnerable to, who will tell us the truth. We need to work through our pain. We need to work through our, there's a lot of baggage. Human beings are bringing a lot of baggage into this where we're at. We brought a lot of baggage with us. And so we're going to have to do the work to get rid of that. And I wish I could say it's going to be easy for everybody, but it's not. Some people are going to have to really look at some painful stuff. So there isn't, if we don't vibe high enough, et cetera, et cetera. So my apologies for putting that fear in you if I did that. Patrick.thunderwizard.com says hello. He is also one of my astrologers, and he's a very powerful shaman and practitioner himself. You can check out his website, patrick.thunderwizard.com. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. I'm happy that I've found a supportive group of men that I can be vulnerable with. Yeah, so 12-step groups are excellent places to go to help. In fact, it's the best. If you want I'm sorry, I know it's, why is he, I don't I don't get anything personally out of it. It just happens to be the fact that The 12 steps in whatever 12-step program are the fastest and most productive way to reorganize the brain. And if you want to drop victim mentality, and if you want to let go of pain, regret, the 12 steps are the fastest, most efficient way I know of. In fact, I did some of that work last night to have to work through some old stuff that came up within me. And if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. So there you go. He says, at first I was scared because of the male stereotypes, but it feels good to trust and be vulnerable. Yeah, so we've all got to go face our fears and go beyond them. And I'm happy for you, Vincent, that you're doing that. All right, I don't see any other questions. So I'll spend just a couple of seconds doing a little bit of business, and that'll give anybody a chance to, if they want to ask a question, they can. So the 90-day challenge, let's see, it's now August 24th. So if you want to wait until the first of the month, that's fine, because you will be charged your subscription, which is incredibly inexpensive, by the way. You'll be charged your subscription at the first of the month. So if you want to wait until then, that's fine. If you want to wait until the last 7 days of this month and you subscribe, I will give you I will refund you for this month. In other words, you'll get a free week out of it, because there's no point in paying, back to back like that. Thunderwizard.com is where you go to do that. And by the way, when you access that, it's not just the lightning Qigong you get access to. You get access to all of the other levels beneath it. The mastery of shamanism, the manifestation mastery course, and of course the lightning Qigong. You get access to all of that. And I dare you to get through all of those videos in 6 months. There's no way you will. It's no possible way. But I dare you to try. Courses.thunderwizard.com. Up here is all of my books, all of my courses, all of my services. Go check that out. See if there's something there that tickles your fancy. And then we have this, what I'm doing here, bits and pieces of me doing the exercises that tap you into 5D energies. And you can see, because you can see the, all of the different shapes that my body's actually making, which are higher dimensional shapes. That is at maoshan.thunderwizard.com. That's the elite practice, in my experience, the most powerful energy practice on the planet. I could be wrong, but I've looked and I haven't seen anything that comes close. All right, a question popped up here. Frank Beltran. Question, if we die, can we avoid the false light? Frank, welcome to the channel. It's clear to me you haven't spent a lot of time on my channel. Now that personally hurts my feelings. You don't have to worry about that. That's not your fault. You've been here long enough, you should know what we're talking about. And for you to even mention the word false light means you haven't put the time into watching my videos about the archons. Everybody listening to me should know how to be able to search within a YouTube channel. And that is done on my laptop. If I had a desktop or a laptop, you can just go to anybody's YouTube channel page and you'll see a magnifying glass. You click on the magnifying glass, a search bar will come up. You can type in archons, you can type in kundalini, you can type in whatever you want, and you'll see hundreds of hours of me talking about this stuff. So it hurts my feelings when you come on and ask a question. It means you haven't bothered to research the channel. And this channel is a library for you. The library of information. We don't know how long this YouTube is going to allow this information to be on here. Hopefully forever. But there have been videos of mine that have been deleted without even me being told anything. I don't know how much of my stuff is just gone. So seriously, put the time to learn it. You're coming on here to spend your time. in my home listening to me talk, put the time in to go search my channel. So if we die, can we avoid the false light? There is no false light. There's no such thing. You just heard me say that higher dimensions are dimensions of light, and all of the light in our third dimension comes from the fourth and the fifth dimensions and above. And you've been told a lie. This is the biggest lie. And it's a lie designed to manipulate you so that you can be controlled. A being of light is a being of light because it vibrates at a higher dimensional level. When you are in the presence of a 5D being, if you were to see it, it would be a being of light, blinding light. And I challenge anybody to take darkness and put something made of darkness in front of somebody's face and try and turn it into light. See if you can pull that off. Light, shadow cannot be light. It is impossible. It is impossible for a being to present itself as light when it's darkness. This is basic. Little kids understand this. Now, you see a dark shadow and you feel a menacing feeling, it's a dark being. But there's never an experience where a being of light appears and, you might have fear, but the fear is because your limitations are up against this enormity of intensity. So Frank, welcome to the channel, but please stop vexing me with this victim mentality nonsense. There is no false beings of light. The Tibetan Buddhists, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is very clear. And they make it very clear that at the moment of your death, you have an option. Because at the moment of your death, the light will appear. And if you have any fear of the light, you will be pulled into the world of samsara. You will be pulled back into reincarnation. So people say, avoid the light. That is the exact recipe to be pulled back into your unconscious reincarnated state. So please drop that nonsense. For your benefit, just drop it. When you die, you will be presented with the light. And if you have fear, your fear will pull you back into some place you don't want to be, and then you'll wake up and complain, I'm in this bad place. But if you are fearless, when you die, the light appears. If you drop the fear and go into the light, you'll never have to reincarnate again. And the reason for that is because everybody, when they die, near-death experience, almost all of them talk about going through a tunnel. Why would you do that? If it's just some other dimension, is that symbolic? No, because we're talking about physics now. Beings of light are beings that live in higher dimensions, and these dimensions are made of light. When you are shifting from 3D to 4D or 5D, you will feel yourself go through a wormhole. It's a dimensional shift. When you come out the other side, you will be in a higher dimension. And there will be more light around it. There will be beings of light there. So, if we die, can we avoid the false light? There is no false light to avoid. If you see a light, walk to it. Go to it. It's your own soul. You're just running away from yourself. It's so frustrating for me, and I know it's so widespread and it's such a popular thing, and it's been taught ever since before the Middle Ages. The Gnostics, the first Christians, talked about these archons and these false beings of light, and it was given to you by that same dark force, deep state cabal. It's been given to you to keep you from evolving. And it is given to you because when these beings of light continue to come into our dimension, which they are coming into it more and more. Every time people talk about UFOs, the vast majority of the time they talk about these balls of light, these orbs of light that appear and do weird things and disappear. That isn't a spaceship. That is a fifth dimensional object coming into three-dimensional space. Anytime something from the fifth dimension comes into 3D, it shows up as an orb of light every time. Might be a different color, might be blue, might be green, might be red, might be white, but it's from a higher dimension. Please, everybody, drop the fear, please. All right, have I said that enough? If we die, can we avoid the false light and choose to stay there and not reincarnate back? Frank, again, welcome to the channel. If you had watched any of my videos about reincarnation, the first thing you're going to hear me say is that reincarnation is not a choice. Excuse me. It is a choice, not a sentence. Here's the other thing. It's frustrating. I understand, but it's so frustrating because three-dimensional human life is the most powerful place to learn and gain spiritual power. Because when you learn to manifest your reality in 3D, when you go to 5D, you will be a bodybuilder. This is the gym. The soul comes here to lift and to work and get strong. And then when it goes back to 5D, it's like hugely powerful. So why would you not want to give yourself the option, Frank, to go somewhere where you could learn really powerful techniques to build your spiritual energy? So when you go back to where you came from, which is these higher dimensions, you'll be even more powerful. You'll be like a god. Why would you want to say, just the whole vibe about the question assumes that this is a crappy place and it's false this, and do I have to come in? And I get it because life is painful, but it's just sad to hear. It's sad because it's such, the beings of light, I'm telling you from continual experience, personal experience and the experience I'm having with them, if they were to sit down, they would say, if I could be 3D, I'd do it right now. You have no idea the amazing opportunities you have here. You can't see it. So I understand you're wanting to leave, but you're here in 3D because you are a serious fucking ass kicker in the higher dimensions. You won the lottery. Before you came down here, they were going, you get to go to Earth? You lucky motherfucker. I've been trying to go to Earth for 10 billion years. I'm still waiting. So please, guys, drop all this nonsense. And if you want to avoid me yelling at you and talking down to you, put the time and effort to watch my channel so you know all this stuff already, so you don't have to have me lecture you like this. Silver Scorpio, if you look above you, Frank Beltrain did do something I want. He wrote the word question in all caps. That is done so that I see your question. So in the future, please do that, because I don't want to miss your question, because if I do, you're going to get mad at me, and then I'm going to get mad at you because you didn't write the word question in all caps. You say, I'm new here, question. Regarding activating Merkaba, please, could you please elaborate on that? Yeah, you see what I'm doing? That is here. You go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. I'm activating the Merkaba with my physical body. It's not something you talk about, it's something you do. So if you want to do it, that's the best way I know how. If you don't want to go, this is the elite path. If you don't want to go that path, and if you're afraid of too much power over there, then you can, as I said earlier, read all my books about thunder shamanism, do any or all of the practices, the rituals I have dealing with the 8 directions, because the 8 directions tap into 4D practices. And that again is another aspect of the Merkaba. So this isn't where you're going to hear me talk about the Merkaba for, on all the different angles, because it's meaningless. All that intellectual knowledge means nothing, and it's not going to give you any access. The Merkaba is the shadow. If a higher, at that Merkaba, we're talking 5D or higher. If you were to, if and this is physics talking now, not New Age spirituality. If an object in a higher dimension were able to cast a shadow into 3 dimensions, it would be a Merkaba. I have one right here. Where is it? You see the 8 points on there? We deal with the 8 points. This is a 2-dimensional representation of a Merkaba. Now you guys know why the thunder wheel is so powerful. So do any of the practices associated with the thunder wheel, do the Maoshan practices, do the lightning Qigong, and you'll be tapping into that, and you won't have to talk about it. You can feel it. What else? Caleb Spears' honest feeling. It felt amazing and peaceful when you said we all make it. Good. I'm happy to hear that. It is amazing. It's a really interesting time to live, because, on the one hand, it can be really frightening and confusing and intense. Our reality is revealing itself to be not, this static, real life. It's not. We live in a dream. It's this malleable thing that is completely dependent upon our intention to solidify it. We're finding out that our negative feelings are solidifying us in ways that bring us miserable lives. Our fear, our anger, our judgment, all those things create, they pull into physical reality unpleasant things. When we operate from trust, when we trust the universe, when, again, the whole idea of illusion, you can make a decision. Is illusion bad? We live in an illusion. I live in a matrix and I want to get out. And you're operating from a really negative place, and it's a really popular thing to do. And that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is your mother, the conscious feminine that is literally all around you all the time, thinking every nanosecond of every day, thinking about how to bring you the greatest fantasy you could ever want. And how sad it is when people are wrapped up in their fear and their negativity. She's like, I have this beautiful stuff to give you, but you can't see it. You can't even grab onto it. You're refusing my gift. But if you let go and you trust, you don't have to know what the force behind reality is. You don't have to know what it is. Just trust. Be a little kid. And then all of a sudden, again, as I've said, like in Snow White, you'll go out and the butterflies will fly around you, and the little kids will walk up to you. Animals will want you to pet them. The birds will sing, and the sun will shine on you, and things will just magically appear, and the path will become in front of you. This is a living dream that is being created for you by your mother, who loves you so intensely. She's a conscious being we call Maya, the mother. What else? Jedi Black Knight question: have you ever felt a cool breeze blowing over the face while doing the practices, even if there's absolutely no wind or draft nearby? It sounds like you have. And it sounds like you felt that to be something spiritual. And I think that's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. Excuse me, I have my carbonated kombucha. Sorry. All right. Is that it? I think that's it. All right, guys, that's it for me. I've had a very, very challenging, psychologically, emotionally challenging day. So I'm going to relax and get ready for bed. And that's it. Maybe tomorrow I'll have something. I'll actually have something prepared. If you have questions, you can go ahead and write them in the YouTube comments section. I was a little cranky today with some questions, but I'll do my best. If I like your question, I may make a video about it. So, yeah, that's it for me, guys. I wish you all the best. And I love you all. If I've done or said anything that was hurtful or offensive in any way, forgive me. I'm doing my best. And my intention is always to be as helpful as I possibly can. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.